the link. Right, very good morning. So I think online two one by one. I think join. Aparna is there. Okay. Because all the time, ignorance has its own price. Right? So once you are aware, that is one thing. If not aware, it will be another. It may be technical, non-technical, personal, otherwise, okay, or your knowledge related or not, that matters, isn't it? So similarly, this technical issue now. Okay, back to our current affairs. So this month, okay, I can say first, second, even now the third week, most of thing is dominated. The issue is moving in and around the Supreme Court vis-a-vis with the government, the executive, otherwise we call a judiciary versus executive. I can say an unhealthy trends, unhealthy transitions, unhealthy political climate that is happening right now. And not even a single issue is new. All the old issues, it looks like more of ego issues, more of emotional and passions, not fashion, emotion and passions. Those are dominating rather than those issues. But still, from the competitive point of view, we have to objectify this both from prelims and mains. And now that group 1 mains is in the corner, okay, topmost priority whoever been that, you have to look from that perspective as well, because there's a descriptive. And once this all comes under the polity section, group 1 mains itself we have around 100 questions directly, including if the general essay, so around 150 questions, 150 marks. There is every possibility that you can or you have to attempt. And as these are the recurring issues, easy to recollect, easy to analyze. Only thing is you have to present in an effective manner. So keeping these issues, let us think from the both the prelims and mains point of view, the major core things. Then apart from this, other issues we'll get into. So the other day news when the Supreme Court Collegium, the firm on appointing a vice as High Court judge. Anyhow, this process is going on. This word is catching more when you talking about the firm. So when you use the word firm, just come what may, my word should prevail, isn't it? I don't want to compromise. So this is what in the beginning I said, an unhealthy trend. It's nothing but in a way you are clashing with other organ. Who is good, who is not is the next question, isn't it? So government has its own reasons, then the reasons is given. And similarly, 2 days back, the Riju or law minister has written a letter seeking that government nominee should be in the panel of the selecting judges. So now the Supreme Court is looking into that issue also. At least we can appreciate here the law minister has written clearly instead of the verbatim hitherto, or we can say aggressive verbatim they adopted, unfortunately. Now come up with what they want. Okay. A clear-cut proposal, we got it. So now it is going to be or not. At the same time, we have one more from the Constitutional Office. The Vice President of India is talking about the Parliament sovereignty and stating that this sort of appointment of judges by so-called collegium is diluting the very power of Parliament, the sovereignty of the Parliament. He invoked the concept of sovereignty of Parliament. Of course, no doubt the Vice President is the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha, and it is his constitutional obligation to uphold the sovereignty of the Parliament in addition to the Rajya Sabha, okay, the conducting the proceedings. Only thing is concerned, what is the process? If you are not agreeing, that is, or otherwise if you are disagreeing with another constitutional body, what should be the way out? What sort of message you are sending to the world at large and people of the country or other constitutional bodies? All the issues are descriptive in nature, okay, opinion oriented. But for every person now here, Supreme Court says one thing, it has its own point of view. Law Minister says one thing, he is having his own point of view. And Vice President now talked about, he too has his point of view. And for a student, from two perspectives you have to look into. Number one is, what is the base for this say? Isn't it? What are the constitutional aspects that involves? Are they speaking in tune with the Constitution or something else? Okay. So first part is objective. Okay. And you have to address that. You should know everything about that. Second is opinion. Who is right, who is wrong? Okay. Is the next question that arises. Okay. Or why they are stating so. Okay. What should be the way out? This will be the next question comes. Here, before getting into everything, I will ask you just one specific question. These are all relating to the appointment of whom? The judges. So judges were both for the Supreme Court as well as the High Court. These are all the issues relating to. In addition to here, the High Court, both appointment as well as the transfers also involved. The Supreme Court judges no issue of transferring, right? Now, according to the Constitution of India, which was adopted on when the Constitution of India adopted? No. November 26, 1949. Okay, the day which now we are celebrating as the Law Day, the Constitutional Day. Okay, that day we finalize this is our Constitution. Of course, January 26 is the commencement of the Constitution. Okay, that dates. Okay, don't get okay, put this to that or that to this. Okay. First adoption, then later commencement came into force. What it is stating regarding appointment? Who has the power to appoint? Who will appoint the judges of the Supreme Court and High Court? The President of India. All the things supposed to be done by the President of India. Okay, he only will do so. Of course, in India we adopted a parliamentary form of government, wherein the President, the head of the state, is nominal executive, isn't it? But real powers enjoyed by the Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. And of course, the President has to function according to the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. So, President will sign, will do so, no doubt according to the advice of the Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. And our concept of very Council of Ministers is functioning, or we can say the very parliamentary system, the bedrock of parliamentary system, otherwise we call, is what? Collective responsibility. Okay? Not individual. Is a collective responsibility is the core. That means the Council of Ministers is as a team. They have to take the decision. Prime Minister is a link between this Council of Ministers and the President, and it is a constitutional obligation for the Prime Minister to communicate to the President whatever be the decision of the Council of Ministers. Okay, and that aid and advice is binding on the President. Even 44th constitutional, 42nd constitutional amendment added the word shall. The President shall, bound by the advice. Before that, it is not there. Okay, by the cabinet. Even the word cabinet, once it appeared in civil services, it's nowhere mentioned in the constitution except by this 42nd amendment. Okay, there's also a point you have to make note of it. So that is the system. Then the qualifications also mentioned, right, very clearly. Supreme Court judge, what should be the qualification? Hmm. Hmm. So either as a judge or as an advocate, and experience matters. How many years as a judge of High Court? Sure, I'm doubtful. So your revision part is very important. 10 years as an advocate, but High Court is 5 years. 5 years as a judge of High Court, or 10 years. So 5 or 10 here. 5 years as judge of High Court, 10 years as an advocate. And of course, apart from this, any legal luminary, an expert in law, okay, feel he can be appointed. Who will, when this collective, a process is there. And ministers, the law ministry is there. It will look into getting the data, and after final decision, forward to the president. So that's all happens hitherto. Why now Supreme Court says it's firm on this? Why the Supreme Court entered into scenario in appointing? Nowhere in the Constitution talked about this, isn't it? Yes, Swati, Aparna, they mentioned the statistics. Good, 10, 5, good. Hmm? Why the Supreme Court, now we just saw the word is firm on appointing some persons as judges? As per the Constitution, nowhere, right? Nowhere it's mentioned, isn't it? Even the wording when you say this, when appointment of Supreme Court judges, when he is talking about Article 124 of the Constitution, very clearly states, right? If you look into the appointment process, when Article 24, 124, right? Okay. So even regarding judges of the Supreme Court, Chief Justice of Supreme Court, and what is the process need to be. Okay, clearly mentioned in Article 126. So this is talking about the Supreme Court, right? Overall structure and the things. And 126 clearly talking about appointment of even acting Chief Justice and everything. This is what we call a memorandum of procedures. Also, we have even appointment of ad hoc judges. Everything is mentioned, isn't it? So when everything is so clear, why there is what we call court class conflicts? So in the course of time, the Supreme Court, being the guardian of the Constitution, being the interpreter of the Constitution, developed a system called as collegium. No point. With that, the procedure changed. Collegium colleagues, the Chief Justice and his colleagues, other judges. Chief Justice and four now, okay, the five. They will sit together, guard the data, finalize the names, and forward to the Law Ministry. Law Ministry will look into, then forward to the Cabinet, then Cabinet to the President. That means, who is the initiator? The question of initiator of the process. Before, it's the Law Ministry, the Cabinet, the President. Now, before the Law Ministry, the collegium came. Okay. The power of appointing is done by the executive. Now, virtually that was taken over. And Telugulo kabja anta. Taken over by the court. Reasons may be different, justified and unjustified. Now, it's a must that Supreme Court should forward the collegium, forward the names. Only those names only will be looked into the ministry. And President has to appoint them only. Of course, option was given to the President. If they don't like, they can send it back for reconsideration. Again, if the Supreme Court reaffirm now this will happen. Previously too it happens. It's not the first time. When the name came back, Supreme Court sometimes resend the name, or sometimes instead of that, they send another name. So when another name was forwarded, no issue. It resolves. If they resend it, government is just sitting on this, neither saying yes or no. Even the procedure, when the President and the Cabinet vis-a-vis, a bill come to the President for his signature, or for that matter anything, he has to sign. Otherwise, he can send it back for reconsideration. Second time, he has to sign. No option for the President of India. But whether once this proposal came from collegium, it is stopping there where at the Cabinet itself. Cabinet is not taking the decision, forwarding to the President. Okay, if forward to President, President has no option. But it was stopping there. That's what Supreme Court said. You are sitting on this. Okay, neither saying yes nor no. And unfortunately, the tactics adopting by number of governors, including the Telangana state governor. Okay, neither stating yes nor no on number of bills, and that creating unnecessary, unwarranted ruptures. Okay, so now at least to address those issues, they started now, yes, doing away with it. So, what is collegium? From when it came? Is it a judicial activism or overreach? There are the two terms linking on this: judicial activism, judicial overreach. Okay, and of course, overall, we know pretty well review, judicial review. Okay, judicial review, no doubt mentioned in the Constitution of India. Which article? Yeah, very 13 itself. Okay, clearly mentioned. Any inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution, court has the power to declare them as null and void. So, court has a clear-cut power, isn't it? But sometimes Supreme Court will step in and take such a decision. Okay, that may or may not be mentioned in the Constitution, or they will interpret a different way, that is giving new meaning to the existing meaning, or completely giving the new meaning to the word. That comes under this judicial activism. Okay, you are doing something extra, otherwise no need to do that. But when you, that is activism, always you are taking initiative. Overreach, when we called, is a polished version of using the word kabja. Okay, you supposed to do that, right? If I am advising, helping you to do that, it's an activism. Okay, clear? I'm advising you because you are not doing, so I'm asking, advising you or ordering you to do that, or helping you to do that, is activism. That means I'm taking initiative. When it comes to the overreach, stating that you are not doing so, so I'm taking that power and doing it. Got it? Both the cases, the other has to do. But the difference is, now I am doing, rather than making you to do that. Actually, it's your power. So virtually taking your power. Overreach. So now this collegium system, which is the emergence of the judgment, have been judged from the judgment of Supreme Court, not in the Constitution. Okay, and especially from descriptive and for viva interviews, these are very, very important. Okay, now court says you have to follow till so. So is it an activism or overreach? Okay, they said it's an overreach. That's what the vice president talked about. It's my power, the executive power, and means here the executive power bestowed by the Constitution of India. How is that you will take a action? Isn't it? So that's what the crucial juncture, the question they are posing. And law ministry got to the extent of saying that nowhere in the world the judges are appointed by judges. Nowhere in the world. Even in America, is the oldest democracy. Even number of provisions we got it from American Constitution, including our fundamental rights. and very first wording we the people, and the Britain, the mother of parliaments, their entire system is the head of the state they are appointing. America president appoints, and of course need to be ratified by Senate. Senate never says we will only show you just sign. Britain appointed by the king or queen on the recommendation. Never ever the Supreme Court of Britain took over. Same thing in other countries. Nowhere else. Even in United Nations, when you're talking about ICJ, International Court of Justice, those judges will not appoint other judges, right? Who will appoint? ICJ, International Court of Justice. Huh? International Court of Justice is there, right? How many judges in that? 15, 1 5. 15 judges. Okay. Appoint for a period of 9 years. Okay. Appointed for a period of 9 years. It's done by General Assembly and Security Council, not by themselves. So never ever in the world you have this system. Judges are appointed by judges. So now why in India? A question mark. A genuine question raised by the law ministry. So if the wording of law ministry or if the things are now the vice president, we'll never question that they are wrong. Only thing that questioned is the way they are doing. Being the constitutional offices, instead of you, once you are disagreeing with it, this is the process. That's what the Supreme Court, when this is going on, stated that till something else to be done, because Parliament has the power to amend the Constitution. Is there or not? Which article? 368. Sure. 368 of the Constitution. Parliament has the power to amend. Is it an absolute power to amend? Some provision can be amended by simple majority, right? When this 368 article, some by special, that is 2/3 majority, some by 2/3 majority plus consent of more than half of the states. Three methods, procedures are there. So overall, Parliament has the power to amend. Then it can do so. Even the Supreme Court judgments are there. When Golaknath case, Keshwananda Bharti cases, two famous cases, right? What is Golaknath case? 1967, they said very clearly, Parliament has no power to amend the fundamental rights, especially. But later, the Keshwananda Bharti case, 13 judges, the biggest constitutional bench hitherto, they said no. They rectified their judgment. They said Parliament has the power to amend, but they use the word. What is that? Wonderful. The basic structure of the Constitution. Preeti mentioned, 368. Good. So, when the question of the basic structure arises, that means a condition, a star mark there. So, in the Keshwananda Bharti case, is it Supreme Court use this power of judicial review, judicial activism, judicial overreach? Tell me now. You know the meaning of three. Review only. Okay? Strictly followed the procedure established by law. At the same time, it has not given absolute power. Even our fundamental rights are not absolute, followed by reasonable restrictions. So here also they said, as the very, in India, who is ultimate sovereign? The people. Where it is mentioned in the Constitution? very the first starting of the constitution, the preamble. What the first word? We the people. So when we the people of India, that means the ultimate political sovereignty in India is with the people of India. The people are the sovereign. And all other authorities derive their power from the constitution. That is the supreme law of the land. So the procedure is there. According to the procedure, you have to do that. Isn't it? And after Modi government came, effort was made to undo this system, 2014 itself. And JOC, right? What is the NJAC full form? National Judicial Appointment Committee or Commission? Just remember, whenever the word commission, there the judges will be there. Okay? Committee, anybody. Okay? Even from that itself, we can derive it, the conclusion. And what's happened later? It was declared null and void by Supreme Court. Under again which? Judiciary. It's not in tune with this. Again justified, it is going against the judicial review. That is itself the basic structure. Isn't it? Only this overreach because you are taken over the executive power by judges case, the issue arises. Now Supreme Court says till then collegium system prevail. If you want to undo it, again make a law. Who is stopping you? In tune with the things. Then if the Supreme Court accepted that, if it is in tune with the existing constitutional law, then everything is okay. So keeping that in mind, the suggestion came on the issue. So here, if you say this, Supreme Court where it says under the Constitution, law declared by the Supreme Court is binding on all. That's it. So Supreme Court, not only the final interpreter of the Constitution, guardian of the Constitution, it can also have the power to create the new laws if necessary. When no law is existing. When no law is existing, it can in the form of orders. Later, formally, that may become the law by the parliament. Best example, I can say this triple talaq issue arises. Supreme Court stated very clearly, triple talaq is not valid. Then ask the parliament to make the law. Then later the parliament made a law and that criminalized this triple talaq. If somebody adhered to, even 3 years jail. That is a judicial activism. Supreme Court took the initiative where the legislature failed because of various permutations, combinations that is happening in the country of because of diversity, at the same time the religious sensitivities. So Supreme Court stepped in. Based on the Supreme Court judgment, government is very happy. Immediately criminalize the process. That is the way the cooperation between the two organs in moving forward. That we call, they applied both the principles, judicial review and as well as the judicial activism. They're getting into that things now. So there are occasions when executive failed, also judiciary stepped in. Okay. Later executive accepted. Okay. Followed the process. For example, now once you are driving on the highways, national highways or anything else, 100 kilometers is the. Who stated that? It is the Supreme Court. Supreme Court stipulated that It's supposed to be the duty of the executive, these day-to-day issues, not of Supreme Court. Once Supreme Court stated, the government accepted and it started doing it. Because the government accepted doing it, it never considered the overreach. But it's supposed to be the overreach. Because they said very clearly, once you failed, we are doing it. Same thing, even right to education become fundamental right now. It took 10 years for the Supreme Court to make Parliament to make a law after judgment. Supreme Court delivered judgment way back. Forced the government. Then finally said, if not you, we will make it. Even Supreme Court completely prepared the draft. Then Parliament taken the draft and with minor changes amended the constitution. Okay, that's an activism. We never called it as overreach, because finally Supreme Court forced the, no doubt, or you can say sit on the Parliament to see that it will be done, isn't it? So all the things are happening. If everything goes well, it's good, but something it is. So here, when this statement arises, when our Honorable Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar talking about this NJOC, okay, authority. So this is one article you have to keep in mind. Article 141 of the Constitution mandates that law declared by the Supreme Court is binding on all courts, even the Supreme Court. This is again objective bit from competitive point of view. You have to keep. Okay. Hitherto we never talked about this article. Okay, because everybody feels that Supreme Court says automatic by default. Now competitive, not anything may be this. Even mains, especially if you quote this article specifically, it will have more sanctity. Okay, more authority on this issue. And 142 is very wider. Just now I said if nothing is in the Constitution, court can invoke Article 142 and deliver anything. Okay. And the best example, number of times I quoted the Ayodhya judgment case. In Ayodhya case, finally Supreme Court says the land belonged to Hindus, so they can construct the temple. So judgment is over, the issue over, legally clear. But it has taken the sentiments of the Muslims, because hitherto they have historical claim, long time they are doing the things, so they want to do some justice for them. Then ask the government to allocate another 5 acres in the same Ayodhya itself and see that help them to construct there, and everybody accepted that. That is by invoking Article 140. Nothing else in the Constitution, but still it will raise. So generally court will raise based on the principles of what you call principles of natural justice. Okay, principles of natural justice. And these are all mainly regarding to civil services mains are now the group 1 mains. You have to keep those issues a lot. Okay. So this article, that what you have to keep in mind. And of course, this collegium system, once you're talking about recently, the procedure, right? When you're talking about only judges hitherto now should include a nominee of the central or respective state government. This is a new suggestion, came from the law minister. Okay. It is in a way a compromise from the executive. Okay. A compromise from the executive, we can say. This has taken a step down now. You're taken power, give me back. They are not asking. NJOC is that, taking back the power. Now they feel that it may not possible. Instead of collegium, only the judges let be the nominee of government. Already 4 are there, 5, 4 plus 1, 5 are there, one more extra. Okay. Then being the neutral persons or anything else, we don't feel that any wrong in that submission. Anyhow, now Supreme Court let look into what it will say. Because once the person is here, hitherto, why Supreme Court may hesitate nominee, if at all. Hitherto, all the decisions of the collegium are consensus oriented. Okay, that is, all the 5 has to say yes. Even if one said no, they used to keep that appointment aside. That means every member of the collegium exercises what is this power is called veto power. Okay. Now, if this government nominee is there, if the same procedure followed, if he started putting every hurdle, how the collegium will function? Will it function? Or else they have to now develop a new mode, instead adopt a democratic method wherein majority is law. Democracy is majority is law. So you may say half plus 1 or 2/3. Whatever it be, it's up to you to adopt which majority. Isn't it? That may be the case. So we have to wait and see how Supreme Court first of all react to this, because now it is looking into, no doubt, the issue, then come up with the process in either way. But it is nothing but a stepping down of the executive to put an end to this long pending issue between the executive and the things. Okay. Then another issue when it comes to the basic structure, of course, Article 13 already we stated the thing. Any doubt on this basic structure? Because just now we said 1973. 67 is Golaknath case followed by Keshwananda Bharati case. Now they stated very clearly on this. Okay. What is the basic structure? Who gave that word? Once in UPSC, not in civils. I don't know whether the group 1 or CDS. They posed the question that the concept of, the word of basic structure was coined by Nani Palkiwala, okay, then famous constitutional lawyer, okay. Later he became the diplomat. Also, though he was offered the post of judge and not opted for, and he's an author of the book called We the People. Number of competitive examinations, talk GK, that question always arises. We the People, the written by Nani Palkiwala. At the time, he's an advocate for that. So it is his word, later taken by the Supreme Court. Okay, that word was recognized. So what is basic structure? The few items easy. For example, one just now we said judicial review is the basic, or fundamental rights are the basic, isn't it? At the same time, Supreme Court stated, still, okay, it listed few. The list is not exhaustive. Okay, you can say this, you can add anything to it in the course of time. And the preamble should be taken into consideration while determining the basic structure. And in the Keshwananda Bharati case itself, where he stated, no, preamble is a part and parcel of the Indian Constitution, but should read along with the lines of other provisions of the Constitution. So whatever be stated there is the basic structure. So in tune with that, you have to go. And finally, Supreme Court will say whether it will be the basic structure or not. Okay, so those 4 things also you have to keep in mind. So a question now, if those who are writing for the mains, you have to address is this wonderfully mentioned in one of the things. Does the basic structure doctrine undermine parliamentary sovereignty? Because that wording was mentioned by our vice president. Now, basic structure of the Supreme Court. So now 73. That means the very then and there itself it is wrong. Will it undermines? Then you have to address the issue. And you have to become the examination all the time, the balanced opinion you have to stake it up. Okay. So simply we can say this. Ours once we adopted a parliamentary system wherein legislature executive go together. There is a close relationship between legislature and executive, whereas judiciary is independent. And that was asserted by the constitution itself. President, that is executive, appoint judges, no power of removal. If at all removal, only done by the parliament, that too by 2/3 majority. A tough job indeed. So see that their independence will be protected. So independent judiciary is then. We don't have the structures purely of separation of powers like America, but there should be a checks and balances, isn't it? Why the power has given Article 13 especially, right? So it's very clear that if any provision is not in tune with the constitution, court has the power to declare it as invalid. So that itself is the basic structure. So each one is sovereign in their own perspective. Okay. And all the 3 organs has to move according to the procedures established by the constitution. Any overreach, any dominance in any format, then create the ruptures. Then you have to quote the cases where they are thing and everything. That's what, no doubt they are in their domain, still bound by the limitations. This is the word which we have to use it. Star marks are there every time. You have to follow the things. So, why this concept of basic structure arises? At that time, Supreme Court feel and everybody accepted either two. There is, or it's happened, okay, that there's a misuse of power now and then. Because with the concept power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So when that be the case is concerned, if the parliament was given absolute authority, then the basic doctrine issue arises. Nobody should cross their Lakshman right. Doesn't it? If after Golaknath case, Keshavandabad, in between what came? 24th Constitutional Amendment. That Constitutional Amendment is to override Golaknath case. Very clearly stated that Parliament has an absolute power to amend any provision of the Constitution. Again, to look into that, Keshavandabad. Okay, that link, why these 2 cases difference also you need to be aware of it. So to stop this misuse, now court says, okay, you amended everything, now clear, but limitation should be there. You can't do as you like. So they invoke the basic structure to put a limitations, a reasonable limitations, a rational limitations on the parliament. So that's a justification of the Supreme Court judgment and widely accepted. So when this misuse is there, you have to, because the parliament is the brute majority, you may do anything else. So you have to invoke the concept of this striking down. Okay. So overall, the checks and balances should be there. And if any other one organ is not happy with another organ, they have to follow the process. Through the process, only they have to resolve, rather than ventilating their anger or anything against the other organ through the media. Okay, may not be the healthy trend. In that way, once you put it your things, that will be good enough. And those who made the things, right? That's what, when the parliament is sovereignty, the vice president talked about, it cannot be permitted to be diluted. That's what his word, use the word, okay, or compromised as the part is concerned. Then they said one upmanship that's being frequently witnessed in this matter. One upman is only collegium is taking. He is not taking care of any other issues. So the crucial words, you have to make note of it and appropriately present in tune with this. Okay? Okay, you know this enjoy candle things. This. Then, of course, here one justification for judicial review way back in 1952 in a Madras versus VG case, also quoted by Hindu. So, this is an article from Hindu. It said its judicial review was undertaken by the courts not out of any desire to tilt at the legislative authority in a crusader spirit, but in discharge of a duty plainly laid down upon them by the Constitution. So, always quoting some authoritative sources, justified one thing or the another, always advisable. Okay. So, here in the mains you can. Then, one more issue is that when now the government is sitting on few names, finally government sent back with specific reasons. It's good again. At least now you are saying why you are not agreeing. Okay. Now the response came from the Supreme. And this is a healthy trend. There's nothing wrong in this. If you are agreeing, state it why you are agreeing. No need to say why you are agreeing. But disagreeing, yes, you have to. You have to give a reason. Then other person may give the clarification. Okay. So this agreeing, disagree is a democracy. Okay. Agreeing to disagree. Your opinion is opinion. So hospitality, democracy is nothing but an hospitality of different interests. Agree to disagree is a core, isn't it? Then resolve it through negotiations. Okay. So it will take its own time. So that will be the case. So here regarding Bombay, Sundaresh, Delhi, Saurabh Kirpal issue, then Madras, Jan Sachin. Center said very clearly now. Okay. Selectively critical on social media. Okay. Then here also shared article criticizing Prime Minister. Then they said it, what is this? If you criticizing the policy of the government, you're not criticizing the country. Right? You are expressing your opinion. And it is given by the Constitution. Which article? Freedom of speech and expression. 19(1)(a). 19(1)(a). So in what way that will be the disqualification? Isn't it? If you are not agreeing with some functionality and others voice as a merit, in what way? So Supreme Court simply reminded them of the rule of the law. Rule of the law is again the basic structure. Okay. Democracy is not monarchy or not dictatorship. In both the cases, there the king or the rulers, they will function according to their whims and fancies. But democracy is not. The people are the sovereign. Then you have the rule book. You have to adhere to that. The rule of law. And if at all, if you don't want them criticize, go for delete this through constitutional amendment 1918. You have the power of amendment. Already it was misused through the invoking sedition law, isn't it? And recently, finally, Supreme Court said, don't use the sedition law. Now it is pending. There's the possibility of it may strike it off. And sedition law was done long back by the Britishers. Even in Britain, it is not there now. Okay, this is against our freedom fighters. Now we are came, then whoever be criticizing government, you are invoking. As if we are doing something against the country. So the policy critical, country critical has to be differentiated. This is what the Supreme Court come up very clearly. And regarding Saurabh Kirpal, he said he is again and could be biased due to his open support for gay rights. So already the Supreme Court in LGBT issues, they made it everything is concerned. And number of issues are going on this. And that their rights were recognized under which article? Right to privacy and personal liberty. Which article? Article 21. Right to life. No person shall be deprived of life or personal liberty. These two words they used according to the procedure established. When the personal liberty is nothing but the privacy. Latter privacy now become a fundamental right. So I am the sovereign over my body and mind. Who are you? I will do it. So I have the choice. Choice is a fundamental right. When the choice is that, you may or may not agree with that, but who are you to dictate? Do this, don't do this. Isn't it? So interpreting in a different way, that was done. So now on this case, how do you put the merit down? When every other qualification is there, how will it be? Is the bigger question. Then is a partner with Swiss national. So when the partner with Swiss national, if you talk of otherwise, you have number of persons who is having marital relations with other countries. Even once our prime minister, right, when Rajiv Gandhi married another president, innumerable. You have say this is concerned. When that is allowed, why can't they now? When the liberty and everything is legalized now, the same process will apply. A logical conclusion. If they are doing any anti-national activities, is something like an honey traps or some sort of terroristic activity or something, then you may question that. Otherwise, so the Supreme Court come out very clearly about this, and this is a healthy trend. Remember, you are not agreeing, you are giving reason. Again, the reason came. Now again the government will come out. So this is what a Karl Marx concept of thesis, antithesis, synthesis. A dialectical materialism when we're talking about. Okay. Hegel, actually concept is of Hegel, a philosopher. I will say one thing, you will say the opposite. Then in the process of discussion, we'll come to some compromise. Even an individual level, that will always happen. So that we are able to live in a peaceful manner. Otherwise, all clashes and conflicts. So thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Thesis is but natural. Antithesis is also but natural. Because no persons, because we are thinking beings, right? We have a similar mindset and similar way of life. Finally, we'll have some sort of adjustments, compromises. You have to do that. You can't say that I can't. Otherwise, life becomes miserable in one form or the another. So this is a healthy trend. Government come up with the reasons. Court responded with their version. Now we have to see how it is going to be done. So finally, the Supreme Court Collegium rejected all the objections, okay, raised by the central government and clearly given for each and everything. That's it. Okay. Even here, yeah, one point in the things is mentioned. Supreme Court regarding Swiss national, when the foreign national, they got the report from the research and analysis wing. And it's but natural that whenever any appointments, crucial appointment they are making, they will look into the background of the fact finding. Most important. No option that is. That's also good. Even once you selected for civil services or group 1 services, will there be police inquiry or not? There is. They will look into this. They'll come to your residence and they'll inquire with others. They'll look at everything there. It's but natural. So within the country, there's one thing, and others another way, isn't it? So Ra is our intelligent wing vis-a-vis the foreign countries is concerned, and external. And within we have the CBI is there and other okay bureaus of intelligence. Okay, intelligence bureau. Generally, IB will take care. In the rarest of the rare cases, CBI will take care. Then, of course, the thing okay within the country and so Ra is but natural. Okay, asking the central government to take care because the Swiss national is involved. What is his or her bag? Whatever with the thing is concerned, the thing is concerned. So just they informed only this information. They are nowhere mentioned anything about the security risk concept. Only the concept of security risk is the government perception. Okay, so the raw involvement is in tune with the constitution. But only thing is whether gay rights and all the things is in question. So these are all which we talked about it is. Okay. So there is a few things relating to this all Supreme Court. Maybe we dealt it a bit in depth, keeping you the mains perception. Any doubts on this? And I'm sure that either in the general essay for the mains point of view or from the questions, it's but natural. Okay, this may arise. So accordingly, made it up. Then the quick thing is when the Constitution will take up the Section 6A of Citizenship Act for preliminary determination. Here, you know the Citizenship Act 1955. Whenever age went, it was added later. Okay. So somebody filed a case is that it's a discriminatory. Now court is looking into it. It has nothing may not have direct link with the CAA 2019 Constitutional Amendment Act of 2019. That is a different, and this is the different issue. So here what's happening is way back when Assam agitation is going on, there is an Assam Accord. As per this accord, Article 6A was inserted. By this, they said is foreigners who had entered Assam before January 1, 1966 and been ordinarily resident in the state would have all the rights and obligations of Indian citizens. That's one proposal the case. Then those who entered later, okay, entered the state between the thing is concerned. There's a second point when you say this in between all this. They are the same rights, but would not eligible for voting. No voting, no political rights. Okay. So only dates different. Both these criteria people came to India illegally, settling it. So finally you are legalizing it and giving Indian citizenship. Good. But why discrimination? Your judgment is now. So whenever the present judgment will be implemented from today. So why don't you take that into consideration rather than this? You are making the law now. That law will be implemented. What is the future? Back everybody. Apply to everybody. Why discrimination? So that was now challenged, and that process is that. So we had to wait and see what is going to be. But anyhow, at the time, most of them came from Bangladesh because of 1971 war. Then, of course, another issue is regarding the governor of Tamil Nadu. The first time we saw that generally MLAs opposition they walked out. So here the governor walked out. Okay, peculiar indeed. So why the issue? Again, this is a mains question. A number of times we discussed this clash and conflicts, and the few constitutional point when you are talking about just now when they say this article 87, article 1 to 6, right? All these things is relating to the president and the governors in addressing the sitting of the legislature. So as this issue came up, advisable to do so. And Article 176 clearly said that the first session, when this commencement of the first session of each general election, as well as the year, that will be generally addressed. Now, just tell me why president or the governor has to address legislative, governor or president or executive. What is the need for their address, for their speech? And you are right, but not specific. No doubt you are. You have an idea, no doubt. Only simple reason is Indian Parliament means what you have read. Is it Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha? President. State legislature means governor also. That means head of the state, the part and parcel of the state. That is the nature of our parliamentary system. Not only us, everywhere else. Nature of the system. If you don't want, adopt the presidential system. So being the part and parcel of the system, president has the power to call for the session or state level governor. They will prorogue the sessions. Prorogue is terminating the session. That is next, because every year at least 2 sessions should be there. Gap between one session second should not be more than 6 months, isn't it? So that has to be addressed. Then it dissolves. That is terminating the very life of the house. Then elections are only alternating. Then every bill has to be signed. Even when the parliament or legislature is not there, they will issue ordinances. All the list power. So there's a close rapport. So they will address. What is the importance of address? After president or the governor addresses, if everything goes well, they will pass a motion called as motion of thanks to the presidential address, to the governor's address. Because you came, thank you. What is the crucial part of it? Significance of that motion of thanks? That has to be passed by mistake. If that was rejected, what will happen? Government has to resign. It will collapse. Why? Because governor or the president, they are only symbolic. They will do everything according to the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. What is script written, that will be present. That means governor's address or presidential address reflects the policies and programs of the government. So when the house not accepted, that means the things. There's no need for you. So simple role of the president or the governor is only process. Now the issue of major arises in Tamil Nadu or other case previously also. Some governors sometimes they will used to omit something. Okay, they will not read everything mentioned, or they will add something here that what happened here. How is that you will dilute from the given state? If that was rejected, who will going to affect? The very government. So they have the genuine reason to do so. So the constitutional obligation of the governor is to adhere to it. That's it. If anything is there, because you know the copy before him itself, in the beginning itself you have to resolve. Otherwise, no. And that's the reason why Telangana state government has acted in a different manner, created a new trend. No question of proroguing the assembly at all. So when the proroguing will not arise, governor will not step in. Session continues and continues and continues. Isn't it? And nowhere in the constitution stated it should be prorogued. Only constitution says after proroguing second session. So wonderful interpretation, right? You have to salute the brains using in a different manner. Okay. So completely ignored. That itself is not a healthy trend. Again, you may say it, but a solution for them to avoid any sort of conflict also, if you interpret otherwise. So this unfortunate trends that is happening. So these articles, few things you have to keep in mind. And Article 74 and 163, that is binds the president of the governor to act in the country aid and advise. I think these articles you remember very clearly. State and central government. What is the true word? 89. Okay, magic 89 when you're talking about. Remember very clear. One article if you remember plus 89 you will get, and the same thing there. Okay. So as per that she can't refuse, right? So any doubt? Then this article also, Article 154, the executive power of the state shall be vested in the governor and which shall be exercised by him either directly or through subordinates. Okay. Then 163 clearly says that aid and advice of council of ministers. So that is the difference between 154 and 163. Then his discretionary powers mentioned in Article 163 2. Okay. Not all the time they are in the way. Okay. Then of course the 42nd Amendment advice is binding. There are the few objective bits that you have to keep in mind. Then even Supreme Court talking about in 2016 only in Abban Review Judgment. 163 of the Constitution does not give the governor a general discretionary power to act against or without the advice of ministers. Long back 74 also. So these things will give the power what to be done. And of course, Supreme Court now the place related to same-sex marriage issues are there. So by utilizing it power, it gone back the issue. Then center versus union. This word again, which word should be used? Okay, center or union. And Tamil Nadu government recently said we will not use the word center. They started using the word union. And very Article 1, right? Union of states. And even Schedule 7, where you're talking about legislative powers. They said union list. They never use the word central list. So technically speaking, union only. Okay. So it's a war of words which should be used, which should not be. But still, technically, it is anyhow. We'll pass on to this very Article 1 onwards. And from the main point of view, very important and critical issues. Then, of course, one more thing related to international level, UN Security Council at last blacklisted Lashkar-e-Taiba leader. Now that China has undone its technical lead. So last time we discussed China put the hold. Now it was done away. And for his Ganga Vilas, so what is this? Is all this longest river cruising from where to where? Right. And overall, more than this, and 27 river systems. It is making the thing is concerned. So 52 day and overall 50 tourist spots. Okay, all national heritage sites. Okay, this is all the route when the thing is concerned. started from here. Okay, Dibrugarh, right? This is how the moment it will be that. Then of course, Telangana states. Remember you have the first woman chief secretary. In their point, make note of it. Okay? Shanti Kumari, 89 batch. So that's all the trick. Any doubts? See? Right. Thank you very much. See you. Right. Bye.